Thank you and welcome to the show this morning. The topic this morning is reclaiming and empowering African American youth through interactive ministry. And we're fortunate to have with us to talk about ways that might be used to empower and reclaim African American youth through interactive ministry, Pastor K. Walker, as well as Reverend Campbell and Reverend Williamson. And of course, what we'd like to do during this first segment is to have the three of you give us some statements in reference to your background, your education, and your experiences. And we'll start with you, Reverend, since Pastor Walker, since you are responsible in a real sense for bringing us all together here this morning to talk about how we might be able to reclaim and empower our young people through the work of ministry. And so let's start off by giving us a few statements in reference to you, and then Brother Campbell will do the same, and Williamson will do the same. And by that time, we'll be out of this first segment, and we'll be able to get into the second segment of the show itself.
Well, Dr. Haney, first of all, Pastor Kelvin L. Walker, born right here in Nashville, Tennessee. I want to thank you once again for your show, because your show gives a voice to the voiceless in a lot of situations, and brings things to the surface that we need to know and talk about and understand and move forward in life. Born, like I said, born here in Nashville, Tennessee, educated in the public school system up until a point where I got kicked out. I ended up going into the United States Navy, stayed there for a short period of time, was strung out on drugs for many years of my life, 17 plus years of my life, ended up incarcerated in Tennessee State Prison System for about a period of 4 years there, and overall incarceration, got locked up, got out, went back. Did some studies at Tennessee State University prior to getting incarcerated, after coming out of the Navy, getting the GED through OIC, and did some college courses in prison through Trevecca East Campus Prison Program before my boy Reagan got in office and destroyed all of that, and took it away. But anyway, never had a degree in anything, Dr. Haney, but just a measure of knowledge, man, just common everyday experiences in life.
Very good. And Reverend Campbell, what about your situation, background, some statements in reference to who you are and why you're here?
I've been born here in Nashville, Tennessee, went through the public school system, graduated from McGavick High School, went to Austin Peay College to play football, and messed up my college career of football because I wanted to sell drugs. I wound up in jail, went to jail for that, got out, joined a gang, ex-gang member, been pastor in Mount Carmel Missionary Baptist Church now in North Nashville for about 9 years now.
Very good. Reverend Williams?
I was born here in Nashville, Tennessee, in the East Nashville area. I was raised troubled teen, bounced from my father and mother, and pretty much got involved with a lot of other young adults that was into crime, and my family's pretty crime knit, so I just got on the wrong foot, got out, and got in trouble at 19. Excuse me, went to prison at 19 till I was 30, but in prison is where I met God and started to reform, and went to school and went to college, and God just called me to ministry, preferably youth, and after I was released, I was connected with these great men of God, and we've just been involved with the community, and just being used to change what we know as a Nashville community.
You know, Pastor Walker, I think that the three of you sort of represent an effort to do something to keep other young people from following your footsteps in a real sense, and how they might be able to overcome. Yeah. Because all three of you represent persons that have had their problems, but you've been able to work through that and come out and have very, very successful and very, very important lives. And so I appreciate you bringing everybody by this morning so that we could talk about this, and so that young people could see and could hear from individuals who've been there. You see, I don't think that there's anything more important. So we've got about a minute before we have our first commercial break. Why don't you make some statements in reference to who you have here?
Well, I think what binds us together is the common denominator is God. I mean, the power of God that enabled us. We've all been in the fire, we're not here with degrees in social psychology or anything like that, but we're here because we've experienced a lot of the negativity in life. We felt basically fell victim to a system that was designed to capture us. But we got captured in that system, experienced that system, overcame that system through the power of God, and now we're here now to talk about how to help others to overcome.
Okay, look, we're going to take this first commercial break, and we're going to be back with our audience following this very, very short commercial break. Campbell, and by that time we'll be almost down to that last 8 minutes. I'm going to let you close us out. So you take about 3 minutes. You take about 3 minutes. You know, talk about whatever you want to talk about that falls within reclaiming and empowering African American youth, and we'll let you close it out. You know, last 2 minutes. I want you to take about 3 minutes. You see, and then we'll be able to do 8 minutes. At least 3 minutes with you. 3 minutes with you. 2 minutes. We will let you sort of wrap them up, and then I'll end it, and then we'll come back for a 10-minute segment, and then we'll start back again. Okay? Okay.
All right, ready out here. 1 minute.
This is an 8-minute segment here. So.
Thirty seconds.
Good. Thank you, and welcome back to the second segment of the show for today. The topic is reclaiming African American youth, empowering and reclaiming African American youth through interactive ministry. And we have 3 ministers to talk about how we might be able to reclaim some of our young people, and how we might be able to get them started and empower them to understand who they are and the power that they have. And we're with Pastor Walker, Reverend Campbell, and Reverend Williams. And so let's start off, Brother Williams, by having you to make some statements in reference to how you see this whole issue of how we might be able to reclaim and empower young people to come back into society and have more influence, more positive influence.
Thank you, Dr. Haney. One thing I see is that we all have our individual fires that we're lighting. Everybody having something going on. But what I don't see a lot is that we'll all band together and create the biggest fire we can to combat what we see going on in our communities. And Pastor Walker and Pastor Campbell and myself and some other ministries have really have taken on this this demonic force that has really captivated our youth. And a lot of it we can pull out a lot of culprits, but I think one main thing is that we're doing a lot of talking and less action. And I know there are people that are afraid because of what is taking place, what has been perpetuated through news and various media outlets. I mean, now that we have Facebooks and all of these things, that it's being magnified, and I think people are afraid. But what we have to understand is that as a community, if we're going to reclaim and empower our youth, you can't allow just the pastors to do the reclaiming or the empowering. We have to rise as a community. We all have to stick together, and I think that even when we're involved in ministry, we have to have somebody to challenge us and charge us in our walk or in our work to regain them. And so what we have now is that we are coming together. We have an organization like we started a gang. We're getting active. We're getting proactive. Jesus didn't just teach in the synagogue nor the temple. His ministry was mainly, in the community or out in the wilderness amongst the people. And if we're going to reclaim them, if we're going to empower them, we must do it on their ground. We must go to where they are and not expect them to come to where we are. So there's various things that we're doing to impact these youth. And gang is one of them. Gentlemen are not gangsters. We've went into the juvenile detention center, and we've got approved by the juvenile court judge, and the gang unit brings in those that are on probation through mandate to take our program, and we have a curriculum set up to where we teach them that they're not just gangsters. They're not that at all. They're gentlemen, that have a disguise because of what society has placed on them. They've taken on that disguise, and they think it as reality. And we're showing them who they are. We're giving them their true identity, and we're pairing them with other entities to help them to change their life.
Brother Campbell.
Yes, sir. Like Reverend Williams was saying, we all are a piece of the puzzle. And until we realize where there's unity, there's strength, I think it'll always be a less number of youth that's being impacted than a greater number. We need to learn how to put our indifference aside, worrying about whose name on the marquee or who started it, and just band together. But to reclaim the youth, we got to learn how to teach them how to have a different mindset. Even our mindset need to be different. Watching the media and how they portray our youth is only one way to view it, and it changes our mindset on how we deal with them. When I look at a lot of people that talk about the youth, about their pants is too low, or you can't tell them nothing, they ain't gonna listen anyway. But our mindset must be changed in order to help reclaim or change their mindset. And that's one thing about the organization we got, Gang. We have a C curriculum that we're teaching them, and we start off with the first week of classification. And what we want to do is ask those young men, ask these youth today, what do you classify yourself as? Because it all goes back to what they think about themselves. And not only what do you classify yourself as, but what does society classify you as? And then not only society, but what does this judicial system classify you as? Because if the judicial system and society see you one way and you see yourself another, why do you want to prove them right? If you know you think more of yourself than they do, then why prove them right? And we're just trying to help change their mindset with classification, character, confession, dealing with currency, change. They have to be a confession of that. I understand that I've done wrong. I understand that the situation that I'm in, some of them, it wasn't their fault that they was in it. But there must be a confession that, hey, I've been in it, I've done it, now I want to do better. Then have them to embrace and accept change, because it's hard for them to embrace and accept change if we don't give them a positive outlet for that. And we was talking about providing jobs for some of them. Most youth don't have jobs. They want to make money. And they're not going to give up what they're doing, from aggravated robbery to burglary to selling drugs or gangbanging, unless they have some means to be able to provide for their families. Because some of them in a household where their mama and their daddy locked up in the penitentiary, and grandmama is taking care of them. So in order to reclaim them, we got to understand them. Not only do we understand them, but we got to change our mindset in order to change theirs.
Reverend, what we're going to do during this last minute or so is to wait, and when we come back after this commercial break, to give you an opportunity to make some statements. But I think that this is essentially what we want to try to do, to demonstrate to the population and demonstrate to young people themselves. And I think that that's what the title that we're talking about this morning, reclaiming and empowering, which is to say that if they can follow the things that the three of you are talking about this morning, then they are on the road to what? Empowering themselves. They themselves can only empower themselves. Nobody can empower you but yourself. And so I can appreciate that. And so what we're going to do is to take this our second commercial break, Reverend, and when we come back, we'll allow you to start us off. But I think that this is essentially what we wanted to try to do this morning. And so we're going to be back with our audience following this very, very short commercial break. Nobody can reclaim you but yourself. You see, but you got to have somebody that can guide you toward. You got to be willing. Too. You can't. Nobody can make you do anything. You know. I think we've heard that said enough among the young people and ourselves that you can't make me. You see, and I think that once we recognize that and that they come to a conclusion that that's what they have to do. So we've got 10 minutes.
Okay.
And so when we come back, we want you to take a big part of this first segment to start talking about something. And then we're going to go to Reverend Campbell, and he'll have about a couple of minutes. And then Reverend Williams will have a couple of minutes, and then we'll be able to wrap it up for 10 minutes. That'll work. Yeah, well, this is good information. I think y'all are doing good things. I like those shirts, too.
Thank you.
Gangs and not gangsters. Gentlemen and not gangsters. Yeah, that's good. Is this the same program y'all had, Reverend Williams, when you were here the last time?
We actually no. We've been doing outreach, but this is
a different
aspect of it.
Yes.
30.
Okay, we have 10 minutes. We're going to start with you.
All right.
Thank you and welcome back to the final segment of the show for today. We're talking to Pastor Walker, Reverend Campbell, and Reverend Williams in reference to reclaiming and empowering youth through interactive ministry. And each has already given us some information in reference to what we ought to do. And now, Pastor, let's see if we might be able to summarize during this last segment to speak directly to our young people to make them understand why what we're doing here is important for them.
Well, you know, Dr. Haney, when we talk about reclaiming and empowering youth through interactive ministry, we're talking about, first of all, have to understand that to reclaim something, you got to first realize that it's been claimed.
Come on now.
And they're being claimed through a systemic design that has been, when you look at the African-American male, it's been long under attack, you know, released from slavery, you know, these guys have wisdom, knowledge, and understanding about a lot of things, but not allowed to use it. And there's been a design that goes all the way back to the end. But now when you think about claiming somebody, you think about ownership. You think about it in terms of ownership. So if I can dictate, if I can control your thinking, then I can dictate your behavior. So, and a lot of times you mention the music, and people are just kind of wave you off and man, the music is so innocent, but it's not. The Bible tells us, be careful what you hear.
That's right.
And then it also tells us, be careful how you hear. So we got to be careful what's going into our ear gate, because what's going into our ear gates is beginning to formalize our thinking. And then our thinking results and turns into our behaviors and our actions. So if I got music that's playing to me, that's suggesting to me that, you know, I treat my women with disrespect, that, you know, the thug life is what's happening, and money this and money that, and just glorifies all kind of violence and stuff like that. I got my smoke, and I put dude to sleep. You know, that kind of stuff like that. Yeah. So you're growing up with that mentality and that mindset, and you begin to act that stuff out. So what we have to do is go in and show them how that when Pharaoh dealt with the Israelites, he said, and they said, come, let us deal wisely with them. So there's a wise system in play right now, Dr. Haney, that says, you know, let's keep them from progressing. So let's do it through this negative music. Let's do it through. They did it to my generation through the black exploitation movies. You know, Superfly and all of that right there. But now they put video and audio together. Now you got a visual of what you're hearing, and it's further impacting an individual, further gaining control of their mindset, and it's taking them down a pathway that we're stepping up to say, let's reclaim this. First of all, I got to make you aware of the system that you've been caught up in. So, because a lot of them are acting out in a system that don't even understand and realize why they're acting out. Why do I want to go out here and sell dope as opposed to go to school to get a degree? Why do I want to sell dope and run the streets and pick up a pistol and get in a gang and do all these things as opposed to going out here and becoming gainfully employed? Why do I want to beat my girlfriend as opposed to loving her and treating her like a woman's supposed to be loved? Because I've been programmed to think that way. This is how I've been programmed to think. So until somebody can come in with another program and reprogram the individual, and I have to use the word reprogram, but that's what's been happening. We've been programmed to think and to act a certain way.
Very good. And so, Reverend Campbell, so that's what we're trying to do, you reprogram them. Is that what we're trying to do?
It is. You know, when you look at a body, the body dies if the head is not there. And if you can cut the head off, or you can take a person's mind, you can control their body. And changing their mindset, teaching them information of knowing, like Pastor Walker was saying, what they in and why they're doing what they're doing, because they have fell into the system that was already built to make them fall into. It helps them. When you get information, it says our people perish for lack of knowledge. And that's what happened. They're perishing because they don't understand. They just don't understand. And it's our job to help them understand and then to empower them how to come up out of what they've been in. For instance, all of us have been in that lifestyle like them. Who better to empower you than somebody that already been there? We can tell you God first. That's the main thing. We couldn't have never made it without him. But not only that, your own determination to say, I want better, I can do better. The mindset of the little train that thought he could, he said, I think I can, I think I can. They have to keep on going at it, because life will continue to press you down, but you have to have a mindset of saying, I never give up, I won't quit, because there is better for me.
Brother Williams.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with everything they're saying. It's very good. And what I see, Dr. Haney, is a lack of education. It's been the root of the problem ever since slavery. They didn't allow them to read, and the Bible was a main thing that they kept from them. And they found that, you know, understanding, if we can keep them out of from a knowledge of who they are, then we can give them who we think they are, you know, and they'll adapt to that. And so that's what we've seen. We've seen these ideologies been perpetuated over our people for, you know, centuries of time, and that's what they have adapted to, and they've taken it on as their own character or personality, and they're acting it out, just as these two men of God have just said. But I think what we have to do in reclaiming is getting them to first know who they are, and then we'll come under that and fortifying them with education, teaching them history, you know, teaching them about you know, how to empower other communities, and not just their own, you know, because a lot of what we'll see in our communities is that person that has made it out, like ourselves, that have got it brought out of the fire. A lot of them have said, okay, well, I'm gonna move on the outskirts because I don't have to deal with it. You know, I don't have to get involved. You know, God saved me, praise God. You know, so, but what we need is to empower, just like they said, is those that have been awakened. We need to go back. You know, the Bible even says that when you've been restored, go back and strengthen your brother. So that's what we're doing. And we need people to band with us. We need people to band with us to help empower and educate and to reclaim our young men.
Reverend, what kind of support do you think you're finding among the general population for what you're doing?
Well, what we see is a lot of candle burnings, and that's about it. In a lot of situations, you see a lot of candle burnings when what we need is people to be more interactive. When we talk about interactive ministry, we're not talking about going out getting some young men to come to church so they can hear us preach.
That's right.
And we're not talking about that. We're talking about interactive ministry. And to minister means to serve. You know, we got to find out what their needs are and then help serve them in a way where we can help meet those needs. And then if those needs are something that's really negative, then we got to show them a way to get around it. And that's when the empowerment part comes in. But, you know, it's going to take community involvement. It's going to take families involvement. It's going to take the mother that's raising these children to take a firm stand, you know, and get the information, seek the information, and understand if I got a weakness in an area, go find it, find the strength so I can be strengthened in the area, because my children, and especially my sons' lives are at stake if I don't do that. And then we got to tell the fathers that if you impregnate this girl, then you impregnate her. You can't run off and not take care of the child and then complain when she takes you to do child support. You know what I'm saying? There's got to be a system of support, and it's got to come from all areas. And it's got to come from the church. It's got to come from the school. It's got to come from our being involved in the school. We have to show up in the schools to see what our children are going through in the school system, because they're being mistreated there as well. You know, it's no secret about that.
That's right.
The school to prison pipeline, man, it's a deadly thing. It's definitely real, and our people are suffering from it. And you know, and people say, you know, you talk about the knowledge part, Pastor Bishop, and you know, it's our people perish for a lack of knowledge, but we were taught what you don't know won't hurt you, but what you don't know is destroying us.
Yes,
so the power comes in when we tell somebody, like Mr. Williams said, who they are, then that gives them power to move forward into the greater things in life that God has designed and purpose for us to do. Because for many years of our lives, I'm sure, I know I did, I didn't know who I was.
Dr. Campbell, the last statements here.
Just so true of coming together. That's the biggest thing. And then for organizations, some organizations don't know that is in the trenches trying to help. They don't have the information because others keep information from them. Mm-hmm. Everybody got to be willing to pour into each other and to help each other with information. We might be reaching them one way, but we need to also help provide a job for them. And we need people to share that kind of information.
And let me thank the three of you, Pastor Walker and Reverend Campbell and Reverend Williams, for coming by and bringing that excellent information. And I think that if we simply sort of follow things and pay attention to what you're saying, I think that we might be able to move. And let me, of course, encourage our audience to tune in again next week for another informative edition of Comments. Thank you and good morning. Okay, Reverend, so what we're going to do today is to talk about fear, distress, and duress.
And guess what has come to my mind after I prayed in there? A Duress diet. I've been raised on a Duress diet.
Duress diet.
That's right. That put it in perspective. But you use, the title you think, but that's just one would guide me. Duress diet.
Yeah, that's all we got to do is work that out.
Right.
Figure that out. And see what we're doing now. They've got the cameras rolling now.
Oh, they are?
Yeah,
Okay.
so just
They recording it now?
yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh.
So we can get some footage out of just people sitting around talking. I don't think is your mic hot?
I don't know. Is it?
You don't have your you put your cell phone. Get your cell phone out.
Oh, that's right.
Put that,
That's
close
right.
that. Cut that off. now.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, because that thing messed up.
Yeah, this gives us an opportunity to.
Okay. Got it on silent.
Okay, so what we're going to do, as I said before, we're going to call this fear, distress, and duress.
Fear, distress, and duress.
Yeah, and so you can carry that through, huh?
I can carry it through on fear.
Huh?
On fear.
Well, I mean, all of that that's connected.
That's
you know,
right.
And so you. What I want you to do is to. First of all, we're going to do that 6 minutes.
Okay.
Background,
That's right.
education,
That's
experience, and we're going to do that.
That's right.
And then we're going to talk about during that next 8 minutes. We should do some information in reference to fear. That will be the beginning of that. And,
Okay.
and you've got all those kind of personal experiences that
Yes.
you're going to talk about.
Yes, I do.
And you want to take off your microphone too.
Okay.
You come here all laden down with all kinds of.
You travel in transit, man. You have to protect yourself. And there was something else I wanted to mention. The in the area, Dr. Haney, of the fear and growing up on a diet of fear. I think about how my mother was suffering from malnutrition when she was pregnant with me. There are things that you can tell when. Is it my mic hot?
Yeah.
It is? Okay.
Hey, Doctor, and he gonna take over for me?
Okay.
Oh, you already met Mark.
Yeah, I met him this morning.
Hey, Mark, how you doing?
Nice to meet you.
Fine, you too. Thank you.
Oh, you just stand over there and you just show them the kids.
Told him how pampered I am.
See that?
Yeah. Okay.
Dr. Haney.
Appreciate you. Good.
Okay.
Miss,
y'all
so
stay.
Miss Brown is not coming today, huh?
All right, Mark, man. Come on, good night. I appreciate it. Good luck in the morning, Mark.
So Miss Brown is not coming today, huh?
No, not today.
Okay. And so, are we ready now?
Yeah, we should be good.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I tell you, why don't you see if we can get seated here?
Okay.
And I think the chairs won't move by themselves now.
Okay.
They're not on wheels.
Okay. Okay.
And I'm going to swing up into mine, and we're going to get started. Is that right? Is that all right?
Jason, you ready, sir?
Yeah, well, no problems. No problems. Just want to make sure that everybody's ready and whatever. And as soon as we get through with this show, we can get to the last show. And that's what I work toward. Every time I come, I work toward the last show. Every
Is
time.
this the last one, Dr. Haney?
No, this is not the last one.
Okay.
This is the one before the last one.
Last fair, okay.
Yeah. So this is,
Dr. Haney, I've lost about 20 pounds.
I can tell. I can tell.
Feel much better.
And so how you were able to get over some of the illnesses?
Oh yeah,
some of
the hernia repair, the leg is healing up, and I have more evidence to show that I may be able to get my father's military fund that he never used in the hospital. He suffered from cholera and stuff like that.
Okay, good. So we'll be able to do that as soon as.
Okay,
Is he ready? Okay, good. Let me swing up in here.
Now, is my mic hot?
Yeah.
It is, okay.
I got it here.
You want a mic check from could you say your name and count to 10 for us?
Okay, Taylor Gregory. Do I count out?
And keep going.
Yeah, come on. 1, 2, 3. You know.
Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
Thank you.
Okay. Now, what I'd like for you to do is to this is 30 minutes. Okay. First, we've got 6 minutes, and then we'll take that break.
Yeah, I was in there.
8. Okay, good. And so you okay? Just make sure I'm aware of the time. You see, I think we've got it up here somewhere.
Yeah.
But oftentimes, what I need to do, I need some signals. You know, when we get to a minute or 2 minutes or et cetera, do that for me, okay? And as I often tell people, I'm the only person that can mess this up now. See, and that's why
I could jump in front of you.
no, that's about the only way you can mess it up. Yeah, we've got it. So we're going to call this fear, distress, and duress. Is that what you wanted? Was that the title that you would like?
Yes,
Did you
mainly,
like?
yeah, mainly the duress. You know, yeah, all of
Fear,
that.
fear, distress, and duress. Okay, I like and so that first 6 minutes will be background, education, experience.
Yes.
That's you, and then after that is done, then we're going to go into that second segment.
Okay.
After this 2-minute break, and then we'll do that 10-minute segment.
And in the area of the distress, you have to help me out with that. I'm not sure.
No, you know, just talk about what you want to talk about.
Okay.
You know, I don't want to be guiding you or whatever. I don't think you said that you wanted to talk about fear.
Yes.
And I thought we'd throw some other things in order
Yeah.
to make it sound much more interesting. But
I
if
got
you
you.
talk about fear for 30 minutes, it's
Yes.
all right with me. But
Okay.
Just make sure that we're doing everything. We're getting a lot of good camera shots.
Yes.
Right.
Okay.
Okay.
Hey, to the Taylor first.
Thank you and welcome to the show this morning. The topic this morning is fear. And we have with us to talk about fear this morning, Gregory Taylor. Gregory Taylor has been with us on a number of occasions, and I don't think that he's a stranger to many members of our audience. And so let me welcome you, Brother Taylor, to the show this morning and tell you how delighted we are to have you, and to also let you know that some of the things that you've talked about earlier on this show,
Yes.
People have been very, very complimentary
Thank
in
you.
terms of some of the things that you've said. And that's what I'd like to do today. I'd like to talk about a very, very important topic that you said that you wanted to talk about in a
Yes.
real sense, and that is fear.
Yes.
And so let's start off by first giving us some information in reference to your background,
Yes.
your education, and some of your experiences. And then during that second segment, we'll have an opportunity to start with fear, distress, duress, all those negative kind of things that help to lead people into wrong direction. So let's
Yes.
start off from that perspective.
Okay. Well, I'm a native of Tuscaloosa, Alabama, and my name is Taylor Gregory. Last time I used Gregory Taylor, and that's a representation of a lot of the fears that I have grown up with. And I'm from Tuscaloosa, Alabama. Went to school at Selma University, and my father was roots were in San Salvador. My mother was Choctaw and Blackfoot Indian. We went to school in the Tuscaloosa County High Schools and went to Stillman College, University of Alabama, and then we transferred to Selma. But I just have had special interest in personal development and turning my life into my product. Those kind of things have been my goal. Whatever it is that I have lived, I have wanted to develop my ability to speak in order to share it with others so that others can grow and see things in their life that they may have never thought about.
And so you feel that for some reason that you've been hampered in a real sense, your own personal development through what you consider to be fear. Now, why don't you explain that to us?
Okay.
How does that happen?
Okay. I consider myself to have grown up on what I call a Duress diet, a diet of fear. Being the youngest son on the 4 girls, I have been fed fear through the sounds in their tongues of their voices. And it has taught me how to make distinctions between their sounds. Their words can be appropriate and their sounds can insult you. And being the youngest son on the 4 girls, it got my attention when I was young how my mother would speak differently when she spoke to a Caucasian male, and she spoke differently and she spoke to my father and I. So I began to inquire to Caucasian males as well as females what was the reason for the difference, that type of thing, you know. And I never forget in the law library at Georgia State University when I first discovered the word duress. It means you raise a child with a threatening fear. And so I've been fed that, and it's been to the degree that I have not known how to know what it was not, you know, because it has just been on me so long. And then there was a sister who shared with me once. She said, Gregory, she said, if people sense that you're fearful, they will turn it on you. I said, well, y'all kept the fear button on me all the time. I never knew how to not know fear. Exactly. So I have a wonder if it's a mystery to me. I'm curious about it and things of that nature. But most importantly, through sound, my uncle told me that my mother fussed a lot when she was pregnant with me. She also did some, she said she was suffering from malnutrition. So all of these things affect a woman when she's pregnant. Even after she's pregnant, she carries memories of having been hungry if she was pregnant. It echoes in the prints of her voice and these type of things. So these are some of my experiences in that area.
And so in a real sense, you think that you're really living a life that has already been laid out for you in terms of your earlier experiences, even in the womb.
Yes.
In a real sense, I think that that's what you're essentially what you're saying. Is that what?
Exactly, Dr. Haney. And I borrowed the quote here of Sir Winston Churchill. And he said that the further one can go back, the further forward you can see. And that is very true in how our young people today.
And I tell you what we'll do. We're going to take this first commercial break, and then
Okay.
we're going to come back and pick up at that point.
Okay.
And we'll be back with our audience following this very, very short commercial break. You see, yeah, you know, be aggressive with me, you know, yeah, do like that, because if you lay back and just sort of throw it up, then I can't catch it. But pamper me, you know, like I was saying earlier, okay, no problems. Okay, very good. So we've got, this is our second segment, and we've got 8 minutes in this segment. And so we're going to start off the same way, and I'm going to introduce you. And you said Gregory.
Taylor Gregory.
Taylor Gregory.
Yes, yes.
Now,
and I'll explain that.
Can you explain
Yes.
that to, would
Yes.
you like to explain that
Yes.
now to us? Because,
Yes.
I mean, that's an odd thing to me.
Yes.
Because I thought, and after knowing you for so long,
Yes.
I thought you were Greg Taylor.
That's in Alabama.
And well, you don't mind explaining
Not
that?
at all.
Yeah, because
Okay.
Are we ready?
Okay.
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 Yeah, because and
It
so
is true. It is Greg Taylor, but it's a reason for that, and I'll explain. It's
yeah,
all
well,
connected.
yeah, because
Okay.
it got me kind of confused. I thought you were Greg Taylor, and you're Taylor Gregory.
I am Gregory Taylor in Alabama, but in Tennessee, I'm Taylor Gregory.
Okay, well, you're gonna have to explain it because you've been
Okay.
with us on so many occasions,
That's
you know,
right,
and
that's
so
right.
so I've thought of you've been Gregory Taylor. Okay.
Okay. It's the same. Okay.
Can I be Gregory? Can you be Gregory Taylor here now? Or
Yes,
what?
yes,
Okay, and then
yes.
you explain it
Okay.
right to me because that's sort of. Thank you and welcome back to the second segment of the show for today. The topic is fear, and we have with us to talk about fear Gregory Taylor. And I think that Mr. Taylor has been Gregory Taylor with us each time that we've had this show, but now I think he has some additional information to add which might constitute part of the title of this chapter today, something that has to do with fear. Is that
Yes.
right, Gregory?
That's exactly
Well,
right.
why don't you talk
Okay.
to us from that perspective?
Sure. And Dr. Haney, the reason I've started to use the name Taylor Gregory, Gregory Taylor in Alabama and in my family, they learned to use sounds. They hardly ever pronounce the name Gregory correct. They used the second G was always sounded like a K. Greg, 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 Greg. And all of this was designed to strike fear or to control you, this type of thing. And so after studying it and hearing these different sounds in their voice, it taught me to learn to interpret their sounds, forced me to try to learn to outthink them, these type of things like that, or to think ahead. And so when I say Taylor Gregory, it's a different spin on it. I'm leaving the Gregory, sort of putting it last to explain it later. But it's also connected to this subject today, having grown up on a diet of duress, a duress diet. And it's like all of the sounds that you've heard of your life coming from the women in my family, it has taught me how to make the distinction in the sounds of voice. And the Bible tells you in 1 Corinthians 14, chapter 6, 7 and 8 verse, that things that are dead can give sound. But how can you make a distinction between the sounds? Also, in customer service in America today, and I'll have to be honest here, I'm not comfortable in getting an African-American woman in customer service because when you get them, you hear their interpersonal communication skills at home, or because you are a person of color, you have to deal with their sounds. And I respond to sound, not words. And to get my mother's attention, when I discovered the word duress, I sued her and charged her with duress, but the purpose of it was, this was the only way that I was able to get her attention. And I had heard her come home from court, and her girls would discuss how she had manipulated the judge and different things of that nature. So today, one of the delights of my life today is to hear the voice of the new Attorney General. Her voice is so clear. To me, it has put all the other American African women voices on trial because there's so much manipulation in the voice. And I did a study on the telephone, and I thought Booker T. Washington had the first telephone in Alabama, but I discovered it was the Dinkins family in Selma, and they helped to form the Alabama government. Most of them went to Oberlin College. And saying that point to make this point, our telephones, I believe, were more used for deceptive purposes instead of just straightforward business. And then if the Dinkins were the first to have a telephone, who were they talking to? Who wasn't any African American, They were talking to the people who they had been educated to help the American government, to community, to make life better or to pursue life, liberty, and happiness, and those type of things. And so I have gone through so many experiences, and I'm very serious about the customer service. Good customer service is America's future. And it was the CEO of Coca-Cola, I think it's the CEO Roberto Guzetta, who said that good customer service is America's future, and we must do everything as if America's future depend on it, because it really does, and God's in the detail. And I can't ever say this anymore. I have a sister here who's in the apartment business for 30-something years, and she recently met the lady who's apartment manager where I live. I saw something in both of them that caused me to take her off of my emergency contact list. In the emergency room, my medical doctor, as well as my hospital And so all of these things that's going on there, their voices can be both causing and accusing. They ask and answer. And two Caucasian females shared with me that some American African women, they speak with a double negative and a false resonance. And see,
Now, what do you mean when they say they speak with a double negative and a false resonance?
I have the layman terms that I use for that, that they explain and complain in the same voice. Yeah, and it creates problems in customer service, or they get to the phone, they say something like, this is your second or third call. If they had been talking right from the first time, you wouldn't have had to call back. You know, it's just a game, and it's something that has been going on, and it's a reflection. But the Attorney General's voice, the U.S. Attorney General, never have there been an American African woman in that position who have that kind of authority and the time to think about what she say. And I see it because her voice is just a blessing to me to hear, but it has put the other American African women voices on trial over all the things that they have done over the years to manipulate, to control the men, and to achieve different things that they've done. It's all on trial. And I'm anticipating by this time next year, maybe sooner, the American African woman will be the most depressed person in America because she has got to deal with all the ways that she's learned to use her voice. And the mothers even teach them. And on February the 10th, after the Ferguson verdict went down, I contacted Social Security and told them to scratch my African ancestry. I'm just going with the Choctaw and the Blackfoot. And I'm serious because I understand the emotions of the 60s. There was a nun, 90-something-year-old nun here, who confirmed for me that the emotions of the 60s have turned into a virus, and it is affecting people's ability to explain what it is that is affecting them. Some have what I call, they're living and alive, and they are actually afraid to be. And they may even consider themselves of being a suicidal or something of that nature. But it is imperative, you know, that these things be brought attention to. I took a conflict resolution class at Vanderbilt. Dr. Tom, I think he's pastor of the West End Church. He talked about battle messages and learned conversations. And living in the MDH housing as I do, I can't see why they don't start teaching requiring conflict resolution classes, and even have in the buildings where you can use your headphones to not disturb people, because there are 50 million people in America suffering from hearing loss, and a lot of people do not want that to be known. And it's creating unnecessary problem, calling the police out for mighty noise. You know, it's just, to me, a waste of resources that could be used in other places.
And so you believe all of this has to do with customer service?
Based on,
and it's a fear that...
Well, based on what the late CEO of Coca-Cola said, Roberto Gazzetta, and I heard Jim Blanchard of Synovia Corporation say this is a corporation where it was named 3 times straight in America to work. Jim Blanchard said that a lot of American corporations have lost the ability to appreciate. And at Selma University, that is what we was drilled in us, to find people who would appreciate us. And one of the things I appreciate about the CEO, T.B. Boyd, of the customers of the Boyd Publishing, I had a chance to speak to him one day, and at the end of the conversation, he said, "I appreciate you." You know, that goes along.
Okay, and of course, Taylor,
Yes.
what we'll do is take this second commercial break,
Okay.
and then we'll come back, and we'll be back with our audience following this very, very short commercial break. Got 10 minutes.
Yes. Okay.
Okay. And so I'm going to start again now. Now, are you still Gregory Taylor or Taylor Gregory?
Either one, Dr.
No,
Haney.
I mean, I can.
Well, I'm just using Taylor. I'm using Taylor Gregory but you can use.
It's a pseudonym. Is that what you said?
No. Actually, what it is, people who you pronounce Gregory very well, but there are people who do not pronounce Gregory very well, and it tells me what's thinking and going on in their head. If you don't pronounce Gregory well, it tells me how confused you are in your head.
I know what he's talking about.
You do?
There's a lot of people that say thing, but there's a lot of people that say think.
Yeah, that's right. But for you, Dr. Haney, you say the name Gregory very well, so that's fine. I'm just using it differently here.
Well, I know, but I'm trying to introduce you
That's
dealing with this show. You see,
But go
and-
ahead, use it.
Okay,
Yeah,
Gregory
that's fine.
Taylor,
Yeah, that's fine.
Professor Gregory Taylor. You know, I call you professor
Okay,
because that's
that's
what
fine.
you're doing.
Yes.
You're teaching.
Research,
You see,
yeah, I'm really a researcher, but that's good.
researching, professor, and et cetera, and et cetera.
Yes.
And that doesn't necessarily mean that you're connected with an institution
Right.
as such.
That's
You
right.
can be a professor
Yeah.
and profess.
That's right. And
That's,
not
to talk about something.
That's right. And not bragging, Dr. Haney, I am of the persuasion that I'm under the influence of becoming the next J. Paul Getty.
Well, I don't know about that. I don't even know how to handle that. You see, but
Well, I just thought I'd check.
yeah.
Okay.
Well.
Okay.
30 seconds.
Okay.
Okay. So we got 10 minutes, and
Okay.
so I'm going to introduce the topic
Yes.
again,
Yes.
and then talk about fear.
Yes.
And duress.
Yes. Yes.
And to allow. Thank you and welcome back to the final segment of the show for today. We're talking to Professor Gregory Taylor, and he's giving us some information relative to fear and some of the personal things that has happened in his life, that has, in a real sense, shaped his ability to be able to meet and deal with a number of issues that all of us might have in our lives. So let's do it from that perspective, Professor Taylor.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Haney. And this, I think, will be the best part of the segment of the show, and I'll use a very popular figure to make my point. In the early 60s, when I first heard the voice, when I first heard the voice of Dr. MLK Jr., I said to myself secretly, I said, this man's life is going to be in the way of me growing up. I became afraid of his voice. And so I didn't take in his speeches. A lot of people don't believe that. They don't see how that could have been done. But what actually took place was when I first heard his voice, I said, this is something that I didn't want to take in. I was afraid of it, but I would not take it in to get an understanding of what the fear was. And about 2 or 3 months ago, I wrote made application to the Guinness Book of World Records. And I said, I'm the tiredest person in the world of the MLK civil rights movement. All of it has to do with fear and being afraid of his voice and asking myself the question, why? I had a minister in a church who said once, whenever you're dealing with something and whenever it comes up, he was a judge and a minister, he said to question it, and each time you keep questioning it, you'll get new ideas. But on May 2000, I was speaking at a school in Decatur, Georgia, and there was a psychologist there, and she said that his voice was hypnotic. They were discussing, said MLK's voice was hypnotic, and I just happened to have heard that. And so I said, would you say that again? She said, yes, his voice was hypnotic. And I said, that's what it was, hypnotic. But I didn't listen to it. I didn't take it in because I was afraid of it. And so what I am witnessing today is I believe a lot of American people have been unconsciously hypnotized by his voice, especially the American African. And I think that they have been unconsciously orphaned by his voice, his messages, his speeches. And they can't see backwards, they see him. They see now, they see him. They see ahead, they see him. And I believe that this is only going to lead to more what I call adult incubators, jails, prisons, that need to be built on historical black college campuses, in particularly Morehouse, who he was the alum that used the jail more than anybody else to get rights, and he got them the wrong way. And even in Birmingham, there are a lot of preachers who have to go to jail in order to get an understanding of the letter that he wrote in the Birmingham jail. I got in touch with the 8 ministers who wrote the letter to him and got their opinion of it. And they told me that they told him that they admired what he was doing, but they felt it was too soon. And to bring it on, make a main point, my life I learned through the Vanderbilt program, the Ocean Life Learning Program, that my life is a counter-narrative of MLK. I made sure that everything that I could find that he did wrong, I made sure that I did that right, because we lost our...
Now, what were some of the things that you consider that he did wrong?
Well, from what I understand, that nonviolent civil disobedience was not the best method for getting rights in this country. And the evidence is on the wall now. You know, you didn't do that. Dr. J.H. Jackson, in the book Unity and the Conflict of the Black Leaders, by Peter Parrish, a professor from Vanderbilt.
I know him.
He said that Dr. J.H. Jackson said that even though nonviolent civil disobedience was not violent, it caused violence, and that it would eventually lead to overthrowing the American government. And I believe that the MLK, Dr. MLK Jr., his purpose, from what Dr. Jackson said, was to overthrow the American government. That has backfired.
Do you think that it was to overthrow the government or to make the government responsible in reference to the needs of the African American and the needs of the population? That is, the 13th, 14th, 15th Amendments. Would that be to support that? Would that be to overthrow the government, do you think?
Well, I would have to speak from the point of protests and production. If they had went the route of production, I believe, and if they had gotten May 17th as our first national education holiday, which should have been done. A lot of people don't know that. The MLK holiday should not be our first national holiday. And personally, I believe that they should move the monument in Washington to Atlanta, because I believe it's deceiving the American people. They have been unconsciously hypnotized by his speeches or his DREAM, overthrown. I mean, there's more jail cells in our young people's mind than brain cells as a result of the 60s after 50 years. And one leading minister here, been in the pulpit about 50-some years, said that in Washington, D.C., when they celebrated the March on Washington, that they were making their own speeches and singing their own songs. And I couldn't believe he said that.
No, well, I can't believe that you're saying some of the things that you're saying here, too, in reference to that. And so is it your contention that the civil rights movement should not have occurred? What would you have believed should have happened had there been no civil rights movement, no fight for the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendments to the Constitution?
Well, that is an excellent question. Dr. Haney, I grew up in a multicultural community, Tuscaloosa, on a street where there were Choctaw Indians, Koreans, even one of my little playmates, Johnny Sexton, father was Ku Klux. And we understood and interacted there. My pastor was preaching in white churches, and we had a white minister by the name of Dr. H.O. Hester was coming to preach at our church. And when my pastor and father died, Dr. Hester became like a father to me. So my father was on an integrated machine gun crew. His roots were in the islands. I've been multicultural through and through. So I interact with all the races. But the other point in my family was my sister was impounded on a bus where two nuns wouldn't give up their seat. The bus was taken to the sheriff lot, and my father had to leave a shift job at Ryco Chemical to go say she was on her way to Stillman College. And I was just in the 3rd grade. But I witnessed, Dr. Haney, how that very thing led to us to stopping discussion and start fussing, because they had learned to protest. First African Baptist Church in Tuscaloosa, that was what you call the Freedom Choir was going. A lot of people left the churches and went to First African to become a part of the Freedom Choir. All of this, I was just young, but I was remembering because it led to something that I didn't understand. And this this past March 8th, when they were celebrating March in Washington, it came to me that our interpersonal communication skills were affected by the emotion from the 60s. And in the Selma University Chronicle, Dr. L. Wilkins wrote that when the Civil Rights Movement left Selma, it left a schism, a lack of spiritualness, a moral decay, and affected the families, the schools, and the churches. Schism, lack of spiritualness, and a moral decay, and it took the kids a whole year to learn how to concentrate in class again. Now you take that and put it over into Ferguson, and what you get, a lot of the kids in Ferguson miss their lunches at school that its situation happened out there. So they have not examined the 60s, even also in the book Black in Selma. If you read pages 147 to 203, you'll get the history of that movie. There were civil rights activists in Selma who went into the homes of black men and humiliated them in front of their family because they did not want to use that route. I was trespassed from Selma University when the people on the board were civil rights activists, and they punished us for our educators who didn't embrace the movement. So it's so much in this area, and it's all connected to fear. And Dr. Jackson pointed that out, that to coercion, to fear, a lot of the things that they were using. And for me personally, I just got it. Liberty and justice for all, it didn't reach me. And I don't have no good feelings or anything. I don't listen to the speeches of MLK. I don't celebrate his holiday. And some things that have just recently happened here with my sister, who is the one that was closest to me. And when I saw how her and the manager of where I live met, and they are very connected to the police here, I reported her to the FBI. And right now I'm studying because I want to know more about what really happened between J. Edgar Hoover and MLK.
Now, what do you think happened between?
I don't know, but I do know this. His emotions, MLK's emotions, and his widow said this on the Tavis Smiley show, that that he was too emotional, and that he was too emotional. And there's a lady in Atlanta who was listening to his speeches when she was pregnant with her son. Her mother told her not to, and she did anyway. And her mother told her that his voice was scary, and there was DEATH in his voice. And in the book, How to Kill a Black Man by Louis E. Lomax, he explained how you saturate him with the American dream, then deny him that, and he will violate his own ethical code and duplicate the like of Malcolm X and MLK. And so that's what it is. And see, I've steered clear from all of that. And right now, Dr. Haney, I'm actually afraid of the emotions of a lot of American African people because I don't have them. And we lost our property, most importantly, in Alabama.
Very good. And of course, we're going to have to end this for today. And let me encourage our audience to tune in again next week for another informative edition of Comments. Thank you and good morning.
And a child's most basic fear is sound and falling. Even your own children, grandchildren, they need to hear to get another kid. Don't deny them that. So you got to pray about it because you have grandchildren.
Yeah, I've got 2 grandchildren.